Peter King here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Peter?
Rich, everything's going great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So you are in Denver, correct?
That's right. Yep.
All right. So as we're getting set for this press conference, are we expecting to see a host of people from Peyton's past be there, including his time in Indianapolis? What do you know prior to this press
I think
conference?
so. I mean, Bill Polian is going to be out here. Tony Dungy is not. He's doing some prep work at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I talked to him over the weekend, and he would have loved to have been here, but he's occupied at the Hall of Fame. I don't know who all is going to be here. I know a bunch of his Denver teammates will be here. Obviously, Archie Manning is here. I don't know about his brothers, but, yeah, I think there's going to be quite a collection. And knowing Manning, if Peyton Manning has anything to do with it, it's probably going to be a fairly memorable presentation, however it goes.
So what do you think led up to him waiting till now to make this decision?
Well, Rich, I know this, that he was determined, and I talked to him the night of the Super Bowl, which is 4 weeks ago, and he was determined to not rush this and to take, as he told me at the time, I'm going to take my time. He wanted to take at least 10 days, 2 weeks to not ponder his future, but to enjoy his present. And that's what he did. He got away with his family, and it wasn't until 16 days after the Super Bowl, the Tuesday of week 3 after the Super Bowl, that he went to John Elway's house and started talking to Elway. And I think Elway that day, Rich, presumed that Manning was going to come in and they were going to start talking about how do you want to do your retirement. But Manning didn't do that. I'm not sure exactly what Manning said to him, but it was something along the lines of, I haven't made up my mind yet. I don't know exactly what I want to do yet. So Elway, I'm sure, at that point just figured, well, Peyton's got 2 weeks to determine this because we can't have his salary be guaranteed on day one of the league year on March 9th. So he knew that if he didn't reach the decision that came today, that he would have had to cut him. And they would have had some sort of ceremony, but I'm sure not quite the celebratory ceremony that it's going to be today.
So do you think Peyton had Condon or anybody else kick tires around the NFL to see if they would hire Peyton?
I don't know exactly what, but I do know that I do know the Rams would have had mild interest. That's how it was conveyed to me. But there were going to be so many problems in there. They weren't going to guarantee him a starting job. And even though I think we all feel that if Manning took time to get physically right, that he'd probably go into training camp and beat out Case Keenum. I think we all think that. But how embarrassing would it have been for Peyton Manning if on August 25th, Jeff Fisher called him in and said, hey, I'm going with the kid. If you want to be the backup, that's great. Maybe you don't want to be, so that's what we need to talk about. So, and again, look, Rich, because Peyton hasn't spoken, I don't know how seriously he thought of it. I just know that, compared to 4 years ago when half the free world wanted him, really nobody truly wanted him this time. And if he played, he was basically going to have to force his way into somebody's lineup.
Peter King joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show moments before Peyton Manning steps to a podium and announces his retirement from the National Football League as a player, and we'll get to his future in a moment. But, Peter, you mentioned being there in Denver, that there's a celebratory feel to this. You also alluded to the fact that we haven't heard from Peyton Manning, I guess, since he was on Jimmy Fallon, cracking eggs on his head with Magic Johnson, which was a lot of fun. Do you think, though, somebody's going to bring up the Daily News article and the Tennessee history today? Do you think that will be asked of Peyton today?
I would assume so at some point. Again, I don't really know much about the format or how that's going to be, but I've got to believe that it's going to come up at some point. Because clearly, I think his legacy, which once was absolutely pristine, has taken a couple of major hits here in the last 2 months, last 3 months, I guess. And whether he's going to say anything about it or not, I bet he'd be asked about it.
And then your MMQB was filled with comments from the guy who's a hip he will be attached to forevermore. They'll be roommates one day in Canton, and Tom Brady. And it seemed like Brady was as high class and as wistful about Manning's retirement. Now,
That's
the high class
word, Rich. That's a great word. He was wistful. When I asked him about what's it going to be like now for the first time in your NFL career, you're going to start a season, look at the schedule, and Peyton Manning's not going to be on it. They'll never be on it again. And he goes, man, that really sucks. He said that'll always suck. And he was sad. It was really legitimately sad. I thought the most interesting thing conceptually that Brady said is that, look, and he said he told me that he said this to his wife Giselle when this happened this weekend, that said, your whole life, all you think about, you're on vacation, it's Christmas, it's 4th of July, whatever. You're always thinking about something pertaining to football, pertaining to getting better, because you've got people all over the league who are doing exactly the same thing. How can we stop Peyton Manning? So, he said, I said to my wife that it's amazing. Imagine all that pressure off him now, not having to think about that anymore. It's got to be a tremendous sort of relief, and also left unspoken is kind of, gee, what am I going to do now?
Exactly.
It's like
Peter,
Robert Redford at the end of the candidate after he wins the election.
What now?
He looks at his advisor and he says, what do I do now?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that leapt off of the page to me, too, because like I said, the high-class reaction from Brady is not surprising, okay? That was great to see, and it's always great to see, certainly in this day and age where that is more of an outlier with each passing day. The wistful aspect of the rivalry with Peyton Manning raised an eyebrow with me. But that comment that you mentioned that he said to his wife, Giselle, about wondering when he's sitting there at the park, with his kids and not thinking about football, having that pressure removed, sort of something that it made me realize that the end game is there for Brady, too. And maybe he's thinking about that more often than not, just in the shadow, if you will, or the cusp of him signing a 2-year extension.
What's interesting about Brady is that, and I didn't write this, I'll probably use it in the next few days or next week, is that he really talked a lot about how, just because he's done, it doesn't mean I'm done, and I think he still sort of chafes at being put in a box with anybody, because he believes that his body is different. He's got less wear on his tires than Manning had at age 39. And obviously Brady this year is going to be 39 years old. So, we'll see. But I think Brady anticipates playing several more years. Last
one for you, Peter. Pretty much since you said that Peyton was thinking about this for as long, I imagine there's not going to be some sort of fully planned out announcement as to what he's going to do next. If I had to guess,
that's a really good question, Rich, because I'm not sure that he knows for sure what he's going to do next.
Right.
Now he might, but if he does, I don't know what it is. I talked to Dick Ebersol yesterday, who Manning has always had great respect for in the TV business, and I mean he thinks that with work and with practice, everything like that he can follow in the footsteps of John Madden and Chris Collinsworth, and I agree with him. He's very clever. He's smart. It's just that, as you know, Rich, it's hard sometimes to speak in 8-second bites and convey exactly what you want to convey.
Right.
But when you're an analyst in the TV game, you basically got 8 seconds. But and look, I think he could also do the Elway thing. And everybody has been quick to say, well, maybe he goes to Tennessee, maybe he goes to Cleveland. I totally get that. The one difference is, remember, John Elway went away for a long time. John Elway went away basically for 10 years. Now, part of that, he was running an arena football league team, but he was out of the NFL for 10 or 12 years before he got back in. So I'm not sure that Manning is going to go to the fore right away and, angle with Jimmy Haslam or the Titans or anybody like that to go run their franchise.
Peter, thanks for the time. Enjoy the press conference. We'll chat hopefully down the line with the tampering window, if you will, having opened up at the top of this past hour and the new league year coming up.
Hey, Rich, thanks a lot. Have a great day.
You bet. That's Peter King, at @SI_Peter King on Twitter.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.